welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about one of the more interesting developments recently in the reality TV world, which is this Dancing with the Stars renaissance that we are all living through. And this is so interesting to me because I did not see this coming at all. I was a fan of the show like 10 years ago until probably like 5 years ago, and I feel like around that time a lot of people stopped watching. It lost a lot of the clout it had. It was just kind of in a flop era, but now all of a sudden with this season, it's really having a moment on social media, and last season kind of did too with Ariana Madix, but I'm also in like a Bravo Vanderpump Rules social media bubble, so I kind of thought that it was just because of that, but it seems like the show is really popular again, and really popular with young people, which I think is so interesting. So let's dive into some of the potential reasons for why this is happening. The first thing that stood out to me when I started watching this season as somebody who has not watched the show in several years is that the show just has like a younger vibe now. I think a lot of that is Derek and Julianne Hough being on screen so frequently, but I also just think that Tom Bergeron, as good of a host as he was, just kind of made it feel like a show that was for your parents, and now it feels like a show for younger people, which I think is also has a lot to do with the TikTok use from the pros. I don't even know how those people have time to rehearse when they're in dance rehearsals, because it seems like they're just making TikToks all the time, but I do think that is actually helping a lot with the popularity of the show. Those TikToks get so much engagement, and I think it does a lot to make people invested enough in these people to actually vote. I also just think the show has done a really good job recently of having like timely and relevant casting. Getting Steven and Alona for this season was so good because they were so big on social media just a few months ago, and it just perfectly transitioned into their run on this show. Ariana Madix also last season I think did so much for the show because that was at like the height of Scandival when it got announced she was going to be on here, so everybody's eyes were on that. And I know they've always had some casting like that, but there were also a lot of seasons when I used to watch the show that I, as a teenager, had no idea who almost any of the people were. So I think that they definitely seem to be putting more of a focus on casting people that younger people will know. And as much as people, myself included, have problems with the way that it all went down, casting Anna Delvey was also a really smart way to get people who are like my age or a little bit older that watched the Netflix show a couple years ago to tune into this show. Obviously, that wasn't enough to keep her around very long, but I do think that that casting did get the show a lot of attention. Even if it wasn't the best kind of attention, it still did get more eyes on the show, I think. In general, I'm glad to see the show doing well. Just a couple years ago, it really felt like it was a show that was past its prime, and I would not have been surprised at all if it had been canceled. And now it's thriving, and I think that this should be a lesson to other shows that are struggling for how to rebuild their previous audience and also get a new, younger audience. Because who ever would have thought in 2024 Dancing with the Stars would be such a hit with the TikTok audience? Like, that is so random, but it just shows that any show really can do this. I've also just always appreciated that it's a show that allows for people who maybe aren't in the prime of their careers anymore to still feel like cool and important and part of something. I think that's really nice, and it's nice that this show probably will now continue to be around to make people in that position feel good about themselves and have an opportunity to show another side to their personality. But anyway, I would love to hear any thoughts that you guys have about why this current renaissance is happening, or even just your thoughts on the current season. I think it's been a really fun season so far, and I'm nervous because there are a lot of good couples, so I feel like some good people could start getting eliminated pretty soon, and that's gonna be very interesting. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.